Hannah, first of all, it's so nice to sit down with you and chat.
Can you share with us about the research that you're currently working on when it comes to childhood cancer?
We have found that childhood cancer survivors, some small subgroup of them, are at a very high risk of developing complications. And these complications actually really are compromising our childhood cancer survivors' quality of life. What my focus is on understanding at the DNA level, what is causing some childhood cancer survivors to develop those complications and not the others. What I'm trying to do is to develop a blood test that when a newly diagnosed child with cancer comes in, we can do that blood test and decide whether they will be at high risk or not of developing that complication.
How does the research and education side of things with UAB pair hand in hand with the survivorship care that the TLC clinic does, as well as community organizations like HUGS?
With all our childhood cancer survivors, they grow up, they become independent. Will they remember to come back to their survivorship clinics or not and get the care for life that they need? That's why we need to educate them and teach them that these are the long-term complications that you're at risk for. And this is what we need to do in order to make sure that you don't get those complications or we detect them early.
Can you share with us what specifically goes on in the TLC clinic? What's the day-to-day operations?
So we see patients that are at least 2 years off treatment for childhood cancer. Some patients may be more at risk for cardiac effects, or some patients may be more at risk for effects to the lungs. So it's really considering the type of treatment that they had and basing that on what we're screening for.
What are some cancer support and tips that you tend to give to survivors, families, their friends on how to best navigate childhood cancer survivorship?
I think probably the most important piece of all of this is being connected to a long-term survivorship clinic. There's been research that childhood cancer survivors have better quality of life when they are connected to a dedicated cancer survivorship clinic because they can give such specialized care that they just would not get in a typical outpatient setting like seeing your primary care provider or your pediatrician. It's important that I think that patients and families also consider that this was a life-changing experience, not just for the patient, but also for the parents, for the siblings, for everybody in the family. And I like to think that whenever patients come to see me, I am asking how their parents are doing and how are their siblings doing, and asking those questions to try to make sure that everyone is supported and everyone's getting what they need, whether it's mental health care or supports in school, whatever that is. We just want to make sure that they get connected to what they need.
I think something that everyone would love to hear is kind of about your story of what really inspired you to start HUGS and your personal journey with pediatric cancer.
Well, you were there through it all and would not be where I am today without you. And so I'm thankful that you get to be a part of all this. But, I was 5.5 years old getting ready to go to ballet class, and my mom noticed a slight bulge in the side of my stomach, and instantly her mom sense went off. She thought, okay, what is wrong with my child? What is she being faced with right now? And after some blood work and scans, that's when we found out that I had stage 3 nephroblastoma. And I'll never forget, within a week of my diagnosis, I was getting chemotherapy, starting radiation treatment, and it was really difficult for us to navigate, but something that we clung on to was hope and knowing that God had a plan through it all and that He was going to use this in some way for His glory and for His good. And so a few months later, had to have surgery to remove my left kidney, the tumor and part of my diaphragm, and I've been cancer-free for over 15 years. We founded HUGS for Childhood Cancer back in 2019, focused on legislative awareness, family support, and community awareness, and it has been such a gift to watch it grow and see the amount of families that we've impacted, but also getting every single person engaged in the fight against childhood cancer.
I think going off that, something that's been really special for both of us to participate in is really that community awareness, being able to come into places like Children's of Alabama and donate toys for families, but also learn about the stories and the passions that other people do have who have this same mindset of trying to find a cure for pediatric cancer and make access to care more accessible, or be able to help survivors understand the long-term side effects and how they can combat those. And I feel like without your personal journey, this nonprofit and our work with Hugs wouldn't be at the same level that it is now.
When a child is diagnosed with cancer, they need to know where they can go for support. And a big part of that is working with UAB and Children's of Alabama, because they are at the forefront of people's minds when it comes to childhood cancer research and treatment.
I think something that it made us realize as a sister duo, and back in 2021 is when we really started working with them and being able to have those meetings, and the willingness of them to listen to both of us and hear your story, and then also take that and research what was happening in the state of Alabama and gather those statistics. So then we were able to help those families who might have felt a little alone and isolated, and now they're being able to be seen and be supported because of the state cancer action plan and the commitment from the committee to know that yes, all cancer is very important to look at, but pediatric cancer is something that they are taking the initiative on now and allowing us to help spearhead to make sure that every child in the state of Alabama gets hopefully the care that they need.
I believe that every single thing happens for a reason. And yes, cancer was something that was so difficult in my life, but I know that I would not be the young woman I am today had cancer not happened to me. And in some ways, I'm grateful that it did, because I've been able to help so many people. We've been able to help so many people through our journey as a family, and that's what I believe I'm here on this earth to do.